Hello everyone, my name is Abby Bliss White and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to do a fragrance review from one of my favorite brands, BDK Parfums. And they just launched Velvet Tonka, and yep, I was gonna order this regardless because it sounded right up my alley. So if you are a fellow BDK Parfums lover as well as a gourmand fragrance lover, then you're definitely going to want to learn a little bit more about Velvet Tonka. So if you are interested in seeing my review of Velvet Tonka, then let's go ahead and get started. So you guys, I was so excited for this perfume to show up, and I'm just going to show you how it comes in the box, just like this. And such a beautiful bottle. So this is the BDK Velvet Tonka. Very similar bottles to my other ones, except this has a pretty sort of gold toned cap on it. So when I heard that BDK was launching a new fragrance, I was so excited because I just love this brand. I have 5 other fragrances as well as many samples that I actually use. I've done a whole video on my BDK collection, so I'll leave that video below. But the notes in here of this Velvet Tonka just sounded right up my alley. The top notes in here are going to be orange blossom and almond. It definitely has a kind of distinct, almost like a little bit of a bitter almond note in it. So you definitely need to like almond. This is definitely a gourmand lover's fragrance. And then in the heart notes, it's got Rose Absolute and Tobacco Absolute from the Balkans. So definitely kind of have a little bit of sweet tobacco in here, a little bit of florals in here, and then in the base you're going to have that beautiful tonka. So tonka bean is one of these notes that can be described as sort of a bit leathery. It can also have a little bit of an almond feel to it, and I always think of it as having kind of this kind of deep, rich, kind of chocolatey vibes. Tonka can definitely give you sort of that gourmand touch to any kind of fragrance, and this also has this kind of milky accord in here, so there definitely is something that's gonna bring about that velvetyness. So this is definitely going to be for the gourmand lovers out there. I definitely love that. This has got a little touch of vanilla that you guys know I love fragrance with a touch of vanilla. This fragrance definitely has some sort of dessert quality to it. Velvet Tonka is a tribute to the Moroccan origins of founder David Benedict. This is associated with the region through its flavors and its landscape, like a sweet, indulgent breeze coming straight from the Atlas Mountains. So let's go ahead and put this on the skin as well as a tester strip. Okay, so when I first sprayed this out, I was like, this smells like marzipan to me. So I have like a little local place that sells kind of fancy pastries as well as beautiful marzipan that they import. Marzipan often has sort of an almond base, and this definitely has like a bitter almond smell to it. It's very nutty. It's also got this sugary kind of lace, like it's almost like it's got a dusting of powdered sugar on it, so there's definitely some sweetness. But to me, this was like walking into this fancy pastry shop and smelling this marzipan that's just beautifully crafted. Marzipan's definitely like art, and I find that this fragrance kind of embodies that kind of artistry, kind of like within bakery goods. Whereas if you've walked into a beautiful pastry shop where you can tell that each and every pastry was made with love, definitely smells like this was made and created with love. You can definitely almost feel the history where he grew up. Now, orange blossom is a note that is in here, and you definitely smell a little bit of this. Now, orange blossom, you can actually bake with it. There's many like desserts that you can add a little bit of orange blossom to, and so it definitely feels like, again, a little bit of that orange blossom in there. It's not super strong or super floral, but it definitely am smelling that. I'm definitely smelling the kind of icing effect in this perfume as well. So when I think of that kind of glaze that you put on, just some of that white frosting glaze that they often put on pastries. You can almost smell that, and it's as if they put a little bit of orange blossom in the frosting, and then they have kind of drizzled that on top of the pastries. There's definitely a patisserie accord in this fragrance. This is not overly sweet, you guys. It is tempered by a powderiness in it. So what I would tell you is it definitely has this kind of almond powder smell to it. So I'm someone who enjoys sort of powdery fragrances as long as they're not like choking powdery fragrances. I really love that kind of richness, and I often find that Tonka is in those kind of powdery kind of fragrances. And this one is sort of a bitter almond. There's a hint of sweetness in it, but it's not overly sweet. That's what I would tell you. If you are worried that this fragrance might be like too sweet for you or too gourmand, it definitely has a little bit of this sweetness from like the glaze. I keep on thinking of that kind of delicious glaze that they put on pastries, but it's thin. It's a thin layer of that. But it's got a touch of tobacco in it and a little bit of rose petals. I would not say this is a strong floral or rose fragrance. Like that would be very much in the background. The tobacco and the rose are going to be secondary in this fragrance. To me, this is more of a velvety almond powdered fragrance, and then as it dries down, you guys, it becomes this very milky, creamy, kind of soft almond scent. So the bitterness of the almonds kind of lifts and goes away, and then as it dries down, it definitely is going to leave you with this kind of soft almond cake kind of scent. Has a touch of that vanilla. It's not overly sweet. Like in the beginning, it definitely had a little sharpness, like a little bit of a bitter almond, and then as it dries down, it's going to be a little bit more of a softer, powdery kind of almond cake kind of smell. And as you know, if you've ever made almond cake before, it is not super sweet. It is kind of a really nice kind of unique dessert because it isn't, you know, over the top sweetness. So what I would say is this is not too sweet, but definitely for those who enjoy gourmand fragrances, and that would be me. So I have been loving this because again, I'm kind of describing it to people as a velvety almond powder kind of fragrance. And again, you probably need to like the note of almond. So I was trying to think about other almond fragrances that this could be similar to. And the one I'm about to mention, these are two different animals. They're not similar, but I'm just trying to give you the idea of that almond note. And that would be that Rolling in Love by Kilian. That's the one in the red bottle. That one definitely has an almond note in it, and it has a milky accord. So if you have ever smelled that, you have that milkiness, you've got a little bit of almond in there, but that one has more florals. Definitely, I'm pretty sure it has like tuberose. I found that to be sort of a dry, powdery floral with a little almond milkiness to it. Whereas Velvet Tonka is going to be less about the florals. This one's got a little bit of woodiness in here as well. So this one's definitely more on that warm side, whereas I think of that Rolling in Love as a little bit more on the drier side. This is definitely going to be a little bit warmer, creamier, velvety, and definitely have this kind of patisserie accord in it that I absolutely love. So two things with this fragrance. I think you definitely need to like the note of almond because you're definitely going to smell this in this fragrance. And I think you're also going to be someone who likes gourmand fragrances. I'm someone who loves them. So again, this was an easy blind buy for me because I already love so many BDK fragrances. I find them to be unique, really easy to wear, beautiful, and they're kind of like my go-to reach. When in doubt, I know that I'm going to smell good when I'm wearing a BDK perfume. And as far as fragrances within the BDK range, I would say if you like Rouge Smoking and Gris Charnel, now again, these fragrances are very different than Velvet Tonka, but if you already like these two, I think you're going to really love Velvet Tonka. Again, they don't smell anything like that, but these are the two that I would pick out kind of in the same genre. Like if you like those, I would feel pretty confident that you would really like Velvet Tonka. This does have a little bit more powderiness to this. So again, I think the only thing you need to know is that you definitely need to like almond. And I would also say you liked a little bit more of a powdery kind of finish to your fragrance. And the longevity of this fragrance is amazing, you guys. This is going to last all day long. And I recently got a comment from someone saying that their BDK perfumes, they love them, but that they didn't last long on their skin. I was a little bit curious about that. I think the only one that I might have experienced that with was when I first got Rouge Smoking. I just loved the opening, and then I had wished that it lasted longer, but as I wore this longer, I realized it was lasting longer. I just was sort of becoming where I couldn't smell myself, but others could smell me. So if you're thinking about the longevity between Rouge Smoking and Velvet Tonka is literally going to last all day long. This one stayed on the skin. I smelled it by the end of the day. Of course, it was a little closer to the skin by that time, but I definitely could still smell that creamy kind of almond powder layer on my skin. So the longevity of this fragrance is fantastic, and this fragrance can be definitely worn year-round. This isn't something that I would kind of exclusively save for the more cooler fall months. This one is fantastic for right now because it's got a little bit of that powderiness that adds a little bit of freshness to it. So this is beautiful right now, but I'm kind of excited to see how it morphs in the cooler weather as well. That's often interesting to see certain fragrances. They do kind of morph with different weather patterns. So I'm personally excited to wear this like on a rainy day in the Pacific Northwest when it's a little bit crisp and cool. And then into the winter months, obviously this would be beautiful as well because it's going to be a gourmand fragrances. And that's often when people kind of gravitate towards those kind of fragrances. So I have to say this was a total winner as a blind buy for me. I knew from the notes that I was going to love this fragrance, and I also love BDK fragrances, so I kind of knew this was going to be a winner for me, but you never know. And I'm so excited, you guys, because I have a BDK sample of Velvet Tonka, and I was going to do a quick little giveaway because I know getting samples of BDK fragrances can be a little bit difficult. They are right now, if you're buying any fragrances off the BDK site, they are including one of these along with your purchase. But if you're someone who wants to try before you buy, then you might want to go ahead and enter my giveaway. I'm going to be doing a quick little giveaway of this sample to one lucky winner, and this is going to be a super easy giveaway, you guys. I just want to share this love of this fragrance with at least one lucky winner. So I'll leave all the information in the description box how to enter this BDK Velvet Tonka giveaway and get this sample out to one lucky winner so you too can experience this gorgeous fragrance. So you guys, I hope this was helpful, and as always, I want to know, did you pick up Velvet Tonka? Do you like it? Do you love it? Are you planning on picking it up? I always love hearing from you guys and learning about your favorite perfumes. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with another video soon.